Listen, you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of your favorite podcast entitled We Hate You, Internet. All right, gather around. Obviously, we have a different feel. If you remember several episodes back, we did an episode about dealing with the emotions of feel or the feeling of being overwhelmed. And we want to continue in that vein. And with this particular episode, I actually want to kind of start a new series of episodes like this. We're going to be calling the Emotional Gym, right? And it's basically going to be an opportunity for us to strengthen our control over our emotions. So these will be a lot more calm than the other ones. And just really, so like I said, these episodes will be designed for you to be able to go back and rewatch them whenever you're feeling that you need to, or you feel that you need some assistance with emotional control. You can always go back and just hit play, and we'll keep them archived in a separate playlist so that people can take advantage of these. And so for today, we want to be talking about how can you be happy, or how can I be happy, right? We live in a world where people are increasingly finding happiness to be elusive. They're having a hard time finding peace in their lives. And we talk about a lot of this stuff that causes that feeling on this platform, We Hate Your Internet. Matter of fact, while I say that, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You'll see the little thing in the bottom. Also, hit the like button. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button and leave a quick review, please. It helps us greatly in the process of building this platform. And so, I didn't say. I'm Wilfred Hamilton, your host. Okay, so how can you be happy? How can you increase happiness in your life, right? So the first thing we want to do, and I think we'll probably be doing this in every episode, because I think it's super important, is that you practice quality breathing techniques, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 breaths. We're going to breathe into our nose really deep, real slow. You'll hold it for a second. Then we're going to let it go out of our mouth nice and slow. That's 1. We're going to do 2. Here's a 3rd and final. Then we're going to put a smile on our face. All right. Why is that important, right? We talked about this before. Quality oxygen to the brain is key to proper brain function. It helps you to be able to, slow everything down, be able to capture this particular moment. It also helps to give better clarity as far as your thought process, because the oxygen helps just with the overall brain function. So that's why we do that. I recommend doing that at least once a day, especially when you're feeling a bit out of control, or you feel like you're down, you don't feel normal. A lot of times people say I just don't feel right. Whenever you feel like that, you got something going on. So you need to take a step back and you take your breaths, slow everything down. And I always say put a smile on your face, so that because you control, your happiness, your joy, your state of being, right? So that's the first thing we're going to do. We can do our breaths. Now we got that out the way. We're going to talk about 4 steps to increase happiness in your life, right? So the first thing you want to do, and it's very similar to the first episode we did on being overwhelmed, is take inventory, right? Super important, because a lot of times we talked about this, you get so bogged down with everything that's going on in your life, all these things get attached to you, and while you're moving, you don't even realize. It's almost like leeches, Like you're going through the water, and the leeches are attached to you, but you don't realize it because you're just walking through. And so you have to kind of take a moment to kind of take inventory of what you got going on, what's been going on over the last, couple of days, last couple of weeks, last couple of months sometimes. Figure out, okay, this is what's been going on. I've been stressed about this. I've been dealing with this issue, blah, 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 blah. And just kind of make sure you kind of keep track of what you got going on in your life. First thing. Second step. You want to make sure that you offload anything that is not necessary. Once again, super important, because sometimes you can take on cares that either A, are not your concern, or B, you don't have control over. And so you have to be able to let those things go. Super, super important. And you say, how do I know what things are important and what things are not, right? Well, you got to think, does this really matter to you? Number one. Does it really matter to the people that you love? Number two. Is it something that is a necessity? That's number three. Or is it something I really, really want to do? Number four. Like, if it doesn't fall in those four categories, and that's in order of importance, right? If it doesn't fall in those categories, then it's just extra weight, and you need to let it go. I mean, your cares about stuff like the stuff and some of the stuff that's going on in the world, like you have no control over those things. You got to just let that stuff go. When you're breathing, blow it out when you're blowing out your breath, and let it go, just like you let go of the air. Like, let it go. You know what I mean? Super important. Because that's what's holding you back from being able to experience the peace and the joy that you're seeking, that you're looking for, right? So that's the second step. Third step is find gratitude. People talk about this stuff all the time, and but it's, once again, it's vital to your quality of life that you learn how to be grateful. Because a lot of times we, especially in our society, and we as human beings, we take good things for granted. That's what we do. It becomes a common thing. And once something becomes common in your life, like, it loses its value, unfortunately. You set your eyes on other things and other goals and other wants and things of nature. You focus on things you don't have instead of things that you already have secured. And that adds some more angst and anxiety and frustration and sadness and disappointment and all those things. And so you have to take a moment to just take inventory of the things that you have in your life that are good. People, we, all of us, find ourselves in space in our lives where things are just going crazy. Like, things are just going wrong. I had a day like that yesterday. I had some personal stuff going on, and it was really a challenge. It was really frustrating. Like, I'll be honest with you, the last 2 years, it's been back-to-back stuff going on in my life, just back to back to back. Once I find it, one thing passes, then I may get a week off and another thing comes. It's just another challenge. Most of it is not really in my fault. Most of it's just external circumstances that find their way to my doorstep. And that's how life is sometimes. You go through patches where you go through change. A lot of it, like I said, it has to do with change too, like things changing, and then you got to kind of readjust and kind of figure out how you need, and that's stressful and frustrating because you're comfortable doing things a certain way, and then all of a sudden things change, and now you have to kind of reassess, and you got to try to find your comfort again, the comfort zone. And that is a frustrating thing, right? And so as things continue to shift in life, like things moving so fast, that can cause a lot of angst and stress and frustration also. And so that was my situation. But in the midst of all of that, I always I follow these 4 steps over and over and over again. Take inventory. I take my breaths all the time. Whenever I start to feel like I'm on the verge of making a bad decision, I'm just stressed out and frustrated, I don't care. If I throw my hands up and just act a fool, I take my breaths first, I smile on my face and say, okay, what do I really want to do? What do I really want my life to be? You know what I mean? Because I don't want to start making bad decisions and then I start reaping, because you got to reap what you sow. You know what I mean? You plant these seeds, they got to grow, and when they grow, you got to eat them. And so you got to think about those things before you make hasty and reckless decisions, right? Because you're stressed out, you're frustrated or stressed out. So how to try to find balance in all of that stuff, and in those moments, you got to start taking a step back and take inventory of what you are grateful for. Because gratitude really puts you in a state of mind where you, like I said, that is the key to having peace. That's the key to finding joy and peace and happiness in your life. Because you realize, man, I do have a lot of good things going on. It don't matter who you are, where you are on the planet, what your status is, your health, all those things. Like there's always something in your life that you can be grateful for. And it's in finding those things that you can find balance. That's the key. It's not to try to pretend like you don't have bad things going on. Like you may still be going through a rough time. Like it may be something really difficult going on. You may be really sad about some stuff that's going on. And sadness is a part of life too. So you got to be able to let that run its course as well. But even amidst your sadness, you can still find some peace by having gratitude. You know what I mean? Like if you have a family member that's passing that's dear to you, it hurts. It's sad. You're going to cry. You're going to shed your tears. You may miss a couple of meals. You may just have to take some time off and sit inside your house for a while because, you know, you're legitimately sad. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But even in the midst of that sadness, once you go through that emotion and you let it have its course, it's important to get it out of your system. Then after that, you can find a moment to be grateful. Like simple as being grateful that that person was in your life to begin with. Like I'm always a proponent that if you have something good in your life, appreciate it. You know what I mean? Because good things don't come along all the time. You had a good parent, appreciate that parent, because everybody don't have good parents. You know what I mean? They may have something else they can be grateful for, but good parents ain't one of them. That's pretty not funny, but you know, if you have a support system, like be grateful for that. Like if you have a job that pays all your bills and you're able to live and be and function in your life, you'd be grateful for that. You know what I mean? Like you have friends that actually care about you, you'd be grateful for that. Like you have children that are healthy and that like, you know, that function halfway decent in life. They ain't gonna be perfect, but halfway decent. You know what I mean? Like they don't give you no major trouble. Like you be grateful for that. Like and the list is endless of things that you can be grateful for. So you have to just make sure you take some time and be like, okay, I do have some good things in my life that are I can be grateful about that. And then practice being and expressing that gratitude. Like, yo, man, I'm happy about this. If it's people in your life that you love, that you appreciate, then send them a text. Hey man, I just want to tell you, man, I really appreciate you. I mean, you're a good friend. Hey mama, I just want to tell you, I really appreciate you. You've really been there for me in my life. Hey dad, like man, like you really, like you was tough on me, but like I appreciate you. Or man, you always been in my corner. You always had my back. Hey friend, like blah 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 blah. Hey coach, blah 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 blah. Hey boss, man, you've been really good to me. You've been helping me out a lot. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's just an activity that you enjoy, like go in and partake in that activity and be grateful that you have the opportunity to be able to do that. Like people age in their lives, and I'm saying all this stuff because this is, like I said, this is the path that leads to happiness we're talking about. It seems like such simple things, but if you just take the time to really think about it and actually exercise these things, you'll see that like it's really this simple. You know, life isn't easy, but this road and the steps are easy if you follow them, you know, sincerely. And so, you know, there are activities that you do in your life, back to the main point, right? There are activities in your life that, you know, you can do and partake in now that you enjoy, that if you live enough days on the earth, maybe you may not be able to do that in the future. Your body may not allow it. Your health may not allow it. Your mind may not allow it. Hey, who knows? You know what I'm saying? But like, so if you have an opportunity to partake in something that you really enjoy, like be grateful for that. That should make you happy. Because once you start expressing and acknowledging things to be grateful for, then the fourth step, and the fourth thing or step, however you want to put it, that comes into play is live in the moment, live in the now. A lot of the things that throw people off track is their concern about the future or their regret and guilt and shame of the past. And while things in the past, you should take inventory of so that you can learn from it, figure out how I made that mistake. Like, man, I really feel bad about what I did. Okay, well then learn from it so that you can move forward and be better. Those things are important. Or whether it be in the future, whether you're worried about the future, it's important to plan for the future. It's important to try to have a forecast for what's coming so that you can make preparations so that you don't fall into different troubles and things of that nature. You set yourself up for a much more peaceful days if you make it that far. Hey man, listen, all of us got to pass one day. So there's no guarantee you're going to make it, but you want to have a plan if you do, and that's key. And so, but you should not live in any of those either of those states of time, past or future. It's really important that you take time to just focus on now. So when we have our breathing exercise, we breathe, right? And then at the end we smile. That's this moment that you've decided to just be happy, to just have a smile on your face and be light and be free. It's key. Once you find once you can do that, You can find something to be grateful for, and then you just exist in that moment. And in that moment you can find happiness. Happiness. Stay human. Like, happiness is not a state that you're going to be in forever. Sometimes I think that's a misconception. People think that like you're going to just be happy and at peace forever. That's not how life works. You go through all the lifts and falls of life, all the various emotions that are in the emotional roller coaster that's in between, like happiness, sadness, frustration, anger, rage, blah, blah, whatever. Like, that's a part of living. That's why human beings are able to express all these different emotions, right? So happiness is not, you can't be happy forever. So that's why it's so important that you really appreciate happiness when you have it. And then when it leaves and if something else takes its time, frustration, irritation, whatever, like you have time to express those feelings too, and then you can find your way back to balance, because balance is where peace is, and where there's peace, you can have joy and happiness, right? And so that I just call it center. When you come back to center, like, you can find happiness there waiting for you. You'll have to go off from time to time because, like I said, life will take you to those other places, but you can always find your way back to center, and happiness will be waiting for you. If you follow these 4 steps, you'll always find your way back home. So, you know, I remember the last episode I did, I just throw this out there. You know, a guy commented about, you know, we had a little back and forth about, you know, me oversimplifying dealing with being overwhelmed. And the one thing that, you know, I really appreciate anybody, you know, communicating, because obviously it pricked your heart enough to where you decide to leave a comment, and I'm not going to criticize that. Like, I really appreciate that the content affected you in that way, right? And so the simple thing that I share with him, and I'll share this with you as we close, is that, you know, I've been blessed in my life to know, to understand people. You know, some people are gifted in a lot of different things, right? Some people just are naturally gifted, and that's one of the gifts that God blessed me with. I understand people pretty well. I understand emotions pretty well, thought processes, perspectives. Like, those are the things that, like, I see those things like a puzzle. Like, I can put it together. I guarantee, you know what I mean, in your life, if you just listen and follow these instructions without any, like, trepidation, just simply try it. Try the steps. Man, I guarantee you that when you come to the end of this video, that you'll feel better. Like I said, I'm not saying that, because he was implying that this is gonna fix all the problems, and somebody's like, oh, I think that it's gonna fix everybody's problem. Like, no, like, it's not gonna fix all your problems. Absolutely not. Like, you if you're alive, you're gonna have some trouble. That's just what it is. But it's just about being able to cope with the trouble, because oftentimes it's people's perspective of trouble that causes all the trepidation to begin with. If you understand that, like, being sad is natural and it's okay, then you don't become overwhelmed when you feel sad. You know what I mean? If you understand that being angry is normal and natural, then, like, you don't have to be overcome with anger. You can measure out anger. If you're irritated, if you're frustrated, if you figure out why, then, like, you can deal with your frustration and irritation much better, right? Like, everything in life is about perspective. It's about perspective. It's about expectation, right? It's about execution. Like, everything in life is under those 3 things. And so, but it all starts with the number one thing. It's your perspective of the thing that will affect the way that you interact with that thing, which will obviously come with the results that you get when you're dealing with that thing. I say that thing because it's whatever it is in life, everything in life functions the same way. And so happiness really is that easy to obtain if you just take inventory, you know what I mean? Offload, that you find gratitude, something, anything in your life to be grateful for. And then enjoy it in that moment. Like, enjoy this moment. Don't go forward, don't go back. Enjoy this moment. And even if it's for, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, whatever. Like, you've experienced joy, you experienced happiness, and then that in and of itself is something to remember to be grateful for in the future. That, hey, I have been happy before, so I can be happy again. Like, sometimes it's simple as just allowing yourself to be happy. Instead of you being frustrated and angry about not being happy, like, just allow yourself to be happy. Sometimes it's really just that simple. You know what I mean? And so that's the episode for today. Once again, like I said, this episode is designed for people to be able to revisit and go through it again. I'll leave some markers so that you can kind of skip through the steps if you want to. You don't have to watch the whole thing, me running my mouth. And like I said, if you ever just feeling a little like down, you know, we go through the steps together. And once we come to the other end of the video, you'll find your old friend happiness. And then I'll leave you like I always do, asking you that you stay safe, stay blessed, please, stay human.